Hello, this is Kade, and welcome to day 2 of the IAE 2952. And it's of course Origin Day, the big changeover from Drake, I would say, between these two manufacturers. They're quite literally on the polar opposite of the spectrum when it comes to ships. So let's do it like we did yesterday. We'll take a quick look at the console here where all the ships are for a quick overview, and then we just take a gander at them with some more detail. It should be quicker today, there should be fewer ships around the place. Let's just start with the holosuite stuff, if this stupid NPC wants to bother off. Lower decks, okay, we'll take a visit there. We won't go to the holo stuff, it's ground vehicles. Again, my standard recommendation is don't buy the ground vehicles for real money, you can buy them in-game whenever they are released, which both of these are not. From what I understand, the X1 bikes are in production, however. Then over here we have the 600i Touring. And of course it has its exploration version as well. They're getting a full-on rework, and I will say they are looking really, really good. The exploration version will probably do a job, however keep in mind it is an Origin ship, which comes down at a higher price point for the capabilities that you're gonna get for anything that needs to do a job outside of being a luxury cruiser, which is of course what the 600i Touring is, and also the 890 Jump. These are ships that you need to understand are primarily a luxury form of transport. I do not foresee them to be a very profitable business in-game, simply because of the reason there are going to be a whole lot of them. So whatever business is going to be there, I don't think is going to be the most, efficient sort of way of making money in game. However, if you just want to have really cool ships for role-playing reasons, or just flying around with for your org, these are really cool ships to have. And that's primarily with Origin. All of the ships it comes down to, they are a nice to have, but all of the other ships, like almost all other ships in their roles, will do their roles better, except for the luxury touring part, which Origin is just like the best at. 100 series, they're the starter ships. They're too expensive for starter ships. They look really nice, don't get me wrong, but like the most expensive of these already comes into the same price point as the 300 series. And looking there over to the 300 series, they're actually a fairly good ship these days. They make for a very competitive offering when it comes to the price point. So definitely ships to look out for. I would not go for the 350R. It doesn't have the best availability, but the other three are all fairly solid and decent value buys. 400i is also one of the decent value buys. That said, it is again primarily a ship for getting around from A to B. It is a touring ship, so if you really want something that is more multi-role and capable in things, don't go for the 400i series. 85X and M50. M50 is expensive, but it's a racing ship. How the racing ships will stack up, we need to wait for the new flight model rework. That will tell us a little bit more. If you want one of the racing ships, it's pretty much M50 or the Racer series. Pick whichever you prefer. The 85X is a lot of fun little runabout, a more luxury thing, like it's just for passengers. It can have some decent firepower, I believe, and some of them have that on the bottom turret, so you can have like 4 size 1 guns. But it's not going to be a combat ship, but it's a nice get-around ship for you to use. That said, if you just want a get-around ship, get a Pisces, it is a lot better. Now, NPCs, please. Hello. Jesus. There we go. I'm going to grab a quick little snack, because the character apparently is getting hungry. Let's grab something that's slightly healthy. I don't know, maybe an apple. Quick bite. No one drink. Alright then. Let's start actually downstairs with the small ones. And I think we'll then circle to the Senate Hall, and then we go back and we finish up with the big ships. So let's take a quick gander. We have here, I believe it was the M50. Yeah, M50. One of the veterans of the game by now, actually. It has been around for a very long time. It was the first racing ship, of course, in the game, along with the 300 series, 350R. I still think it is a really nice little ship. It definitely has some potential. It could be used perhaps also as an interceptor. I believe lore-wise, the UE Advocacy uses them as interceptors. And I just think it is a really nice looking ship. However, because it is a racing ship, of course, it comes at a reasonably hefty price tag at $100, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, good ship, nice looker. But you know, if you want to do anything else besides racing, then there are probably better ships out there. In the hands of an excellent pilot, however, it can be effective in combat. Then on the other hand, we have our fun little runabout, as we just discussed. I really like the look of this thing. It is a well-designed little ship. This was actually, I believe, one of the concepts for the M50 as well originally, and they then reworked it for this two-person runabout sort of style ship. These come with the 890 as well, but the 890 hangar can fit larger ships as this thing is in there. So most people will probably be running something else. But you can see here, like, wings, small turret mount underneath. It's just a nice little ship to have around and fly around with. It does come, I think, at like $50 or so, so it's not too expensive either. So if you just want to have like a fun runabout ship that's a little bit nicer looking than a Pisces, this is definitely a good option. Just keep in mind you have no cargo capacity at all. So again, you know, Origin ships, really nice looking, capable in some ways, but they generally lack in comparison to their competitors when it just comes down to raw capability and value for money. Like, you're not going to find any Origin ships really in the line that you say like these are the best value for money, because that's not what their brand is all about. Now let's go ahead and move over. I think we'll move to the Senate Hall. Or let's go for the 100 series. We'll finish it with the 890. The 100 series, as I mentioned, these are quite nice. Like, they're really nice to look at. They got a nice interior, as you can see. They have a little bit of cargo. So they can do almost everything. The problem when it comes down to is they are just too expensive. Like, these start at $50 compared to 40 for the Cutter, and the Cutter is just a much more capable ship when it comes down to having a starter ship. So the only reason you will buy a Origin 100 series is purely because you want to have the styling of these ships and you're willing to pay the premium price for them and to deal with the reduction in capabilities. So always, you know, have that in mind whenever you are acquiring ships, like from Origin especially. You are going to be overpaying for the capabilities that they will offer you. And that may not be a bad thing depending on your situation. Over here we have the 300 series, of course. I think the 300 series, besides the 350R, is actually the only Origin ship that I would say is actually still a fairly decent value. They make for a good mid-sized ship. They pack a little bit of firepower, not too much. It's not going to be a excellent combat ship, not even the combat version. So, like, honestly, if you want to get one of these, probably just stick with the standard 100i. Or perhaps the 315p could become interesting when the tractor beams become enabled in space and we have now full-on SOFDET. So maybe one of these ships could be used to grab loot that is flying away, or just grab loot from a rack and move it closer to the ship that you're trying to loot it with. So it could actually have a unique role in that regard. So perhaps it is also interesting. The 325A, it doesn't offer enough over the others to really be worth it, but the price difference is not massive. 350R, it's like the racing ship, but it gets outclassed in racing, period. They need to rework that ship massively to make it interesting again. Like, when it was originally at the M50 versus the 350R, the M50 was the faster when it came down to cornering, and the 350R had just that straight line speed. And it misses that straight line speed, so if they want to rework this flight model, they need to give that ship straight line speed again to make it worthwhile. The 400i, yeah, it is 250. It's not too bad, but again, it is not really good at anything. It's just a good ship to get around with. It does have this special hangar for the Origin bike, but again, only the Origin bike fits in there. So it's just very restrictive, in my opinion. So it's nice to go around with. It is a good runabout. It's not going to be a good ship if you have a small fleet. If you have a slightly larger fleet and you just want to have like a larger ship to get around the first, that has the range, this could however be a valuable option for you to have. So yeah, for the larger fleets it will definitely work in that regard. All of the other ships so far we talked about is literally just solo operation, because again they're smaller multi-role ships, so you're not going to be really using them for anything else. Of course the 85X you would have to enlarge your fleet because it's just a runabout. So now let's go ahead and take a gander at the 600i series, and of course it has also the touring version. Now there's no point looking at the interior, of course this thing is going to get completely overhauled, and it really needed that overhaul. It was not a good interior at all. It was very wasteful in its space, didn't really look all that nice. So with that said, like if you want to have a ship that has range to it, it has a decent amount of firepower and defenses, and just gets you around in comfort throughout the first, like you want to go system to system to system to system without needing to stop too much, this is probably going to be a really nice ship to do that. But then again, you are paying a relatively hefty price for this ship, because at the end of the day, this is a super yacht. That's what it is. It is a yacht. It is not going to do anything else really amazingly besides getting you from A to B in a really high degree of comfort. If that is something that you value in game from like a role-playing perspective, by all means get one of these ships. If you're just looking for capabilities, there are much better ships to have around. The Explorer, I think, is going to suffer again from the price point as well. Again, like capability wise, a Carrack will just do a lot better and a lot more in that price range. So if you want to explore, you're going to be looking at a Carrack. If you want to do it exploration in, like, you want to be like the gentleman explorer, then perhaps the 600i Explorer can do it for you. But again, you pay that hefty premium for an Origin ship, but you lose so much in the capabilities. So in my opinion, definitely not going to be worth it. And now for the big one, the Origin 890. I'm not sure if we can get inside of here. If not, perhaps I'll just go to the spaceport and we can take a gander from there. If you want to get in, always use the back elevator, like really. Let's see if it's going to work or not. It will take a little bit. It is a massive ship, of course. This is no longer a super yacht, this is a mega yacht. And in the name, of course, that is what it is all about. This ship is getting you and a bunch of the people that you really like or really want them to spend money with you around the first. That is what the 890 jump is all about. And it comes in at a price of 890. Because that's what it is nowadays. The original concept was a lot cheaper. That's luckily when I got my hands on mine, so I was very happy with that. At $890, however, this ship is literally just a statement of, look at me, I have money, go deal with it. Mwahaha. And that's really all it is. It is really expensive. You have airlocks here on both sides. Those are your docking collars. The lighting is not on here, it's a little bit sad. You have 4 cabins. All of these are exactly the same, which is to me one of the issues that I have with the ship as well. You have this large central area, which suffers a little bit from the, in my opinion, the same issue that the 600 series does. There feels like there could be done more with this ship, and I do hope they will give it another look at some point in time. It won't be soon, so what you see is pretty much what you're gonna get. You can see you have here the swimming pool, the lights are off, but like it is a nice interior, but it could be a lot nicer, I think. It's a little bit bland as it stands right now. And yeah, as I said, value-wise, it is just too gosh darn expensive for what it really does. It is really just a statement of, look at me, I have the money to buy this thing. That's what it is, and that's of course what a mega yacht is all about. These things are not about making money, these are about spending money. So if you want to have an 890 jump, like the value proposition doesn't really matter to you, because you just want an 890 jump and you will have the capital to get an 890 jump. So you will just buy one. And you will try to get one, and of course they are limited in numbers, so you probably try to F5 spam with everybody else, just like with the capital grade ships. So these are not the kind of ships where a value proposition really comes into play. That said, I still hope it will get a bit more work done to it. There's a lot more I think they can do, especially here with this central space, with this, like, open space is nice, but it's also a little bit inefficiently laid out, I think. Like, yachts are, like, a lot of people think, like, oh, there's like these massive things. Like, a lot of the spaces in yachts are still relatively small because it's still a ship. Like, space is just at a premium, regardless of how much money you have. You want to be able to use your space, and here you're not really using a lot of your space. Like, there are 2 decks in here which are pretty much unused right now. So yeah, that's Origin. Not that many ships, of course, in their lineup. We'll maybe see a bit more of them, but I don't think there's too much that they can really add to a lineup like Origins, because of the idea that these are a luxury ship manufacturer. So it doesn't really make sense for them to go like full on into industrial ships or into military ships. What they might do with Origin perhaps at some point is that they will bring out a airliner style ship, so that they would compete with Crusader against their Genesis. I could see that maybe happening at some point, but for now I think the lineup that you see from Origin is the lineup you're gonna keep from Origin. And the only ship that is value-wise, I would say, that's a good buy is going to be the 300i 315p. Everything else, just understand you are either paying an Origin premium for a lower capability ship, or you're just paying a lot of money to fly yourself around from A to B as the primary purpose of those ships. So again, that covers everything. I hope it will give you some insight as to what ships to buy, and I will see you again tomorrow. And I think I'm not even sure, like, I don't keep an eye on the schedule what it's going to be tomorrow, but whatever it's going to be tomorrow, that's what we're going to see. I think it was going to be Aegis maybe, so that would be interesting. Like, some combat ships is always nice to look at, because it's still, you know, one of the main loops that we do, of course, right now in Stealth Citizen. Anyhow, I've been Cardo, and thank you very much for watching. As I said, see you tomorrow. Bye bye.